Good morning, everybody. So I just wanted to do a little video here about not just FullCircle Florals, but about like our philosophy about being on the farm and what we do with ourselves. So I like to call it the closed loop system. I've heard it referred to that as well. But as far it's zero waste. I don't know the word zero waste, but I like to try to close the loop whenever possible. So one of the ways that we do that is we harvest our own lumber, and we have our wood stove. Not our own lumber. You could. I use it. I use it for making things. Anyway, we harvest, anything that falls or whatever. Becomes firewood, which is a nice heat source. And actually, I do use a lot of, new growth since whatever. I make trellises and all kinds of things out of them because that's fun. So this is one of the things that we definitely do to close the loop is none of this stuff because there's no green waste or whatever. We don't have that either. It gets used like this. And we got the wood chipper, which we've never demonstrated. We've had it actually for a while. We've just been using the wood chips that we had so far. But pretty soon, someday we'll run out of that pile and we'll need more, and we'll demonstrate that wood chipper. So that was a big good thing for us because in the past I've just kind of, I'll break them up or cut them up and use them as mulch in places or as a, a bark or whatever. But wood chips are incredibly good for the garden. So if you can chip and put it back in your garden, then that's definitely closing the loop. The other thing is the chop and drop, which I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but let's go over here and we'll just talk a little bit about that. Ultimately, chop and drop. So when I go harvest my cuties, like these guys here from the subscription garden, I take off the bottom stems because you don't want those in water, bottom leaves. And then I do a sprinkling along where the plants are growing. And so what that does is closes the loop by taking that all the good stuff that was in those leaves that made it, grow, the nitrogen and the minerals, and puts it right back down into the soil. So I'm not throwing that in the garbage can and it's just going to waste. That's getting used again. So that's an important one. I think, those are the top two, I think, for the flower farm. So I might even just let it go at that. But, well, no, not really, because like back behind me, you see the redwood rounds that are right here. So I talked about that earlier in the season that we got those from a friend who had to cut his trees down, and they are making the best little border for our thing. So that's kind of closing that loop. Really, redwood is not a great one for burning. It doesn't have a ton of heat that it puts out. This is what I'm told. This is what the man over here, Eric, is the wood guy. He's been doing tree work for ages, and he was saying that it's not a great one for burning. So, but it's great for being here forever and hanging out. The other big one, I'd lie. I'm like, oh, no, we got nothing else. Not true. I have a huge list. Anyway, the wood chips is that other one I kind of mentioned. But just the fact of the matter of you put your wood chips down and then you put more wood chips on top of it, because eventually over time it's going to start to break down, and people talk about how it robs the nitrogen from the soil, which it will a smidge. And so you just will kind of know that that's going to happen. And if you have to, then you can put some nitrogen, but via fertilizer back in. But ultimately, it's kind of a flash in the pan. It's not a ton. It's not like over time you're never going to have nitrogen in your soil. That's not how it works. And if you do have that issue, you can always do the chop and drop method or do cover crops. And so we're hoping to do some cover cropping for sure out here. But yeah, those are some really big ones that we do. So just a little blurb about how we're closing our loop. The other thing is just trying to be mindful of water. Of course, then we have mishaps with the irrigation. We didn't know that it was on, and we have a big green patch out here, but we've got it fixed now. So we're trying our best to figure those things out, because that's a whole other thing for us. We've never known that. We're real on it with our systems out by the house and with the subscription garden. Like everything is monitored. We have everything on timer, which is great. And so that meters how much they're getting and when. And then hi, Fox. How's it going?
Going okay. How's it going with you?
Good. I'm just talking a little bit about closing the loop and the things that we do here. I was just talking about how at the house we've got, and I have a big spreadsheet that's marked out by like hours and times of everything's blocked out. So you can clearly see what gets watered and when. And then we go through as the season changes or the temps climb or lower, go through and change the times on things so that it matches what the needs that it has. The other big one is planting like water needs items together. That's still one we're working on. It's kind of an ongoing project at the house there. I took all of my cacti and succulents out of every other bed that they were kind of intermixed with and put them in their own dry bed area with some other flowers and stuff that like or can handle dry conditions. And they get watered way less than everything else. So that's kind of nice. Can you think of anything? What else do we do to close the loop? Let's put you on the spot, huh?
Yeah, and I don't really know what you mean by close the loop.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just telling them. So here's for summary. For summary, things that close the loop is instead of just sticking the branches in the green waste, we cut them up and use, we can run them through the wood chipper, the little stuff to make bark or wood chips. And then the bigger stuff we use is in our wood stove. Or using wood chips at all. That's a way of closing the loop. Is just, you're not creating more garbage. You're using everything. And then the other example is like when I pick the flowers, I'll strip down the leaves and then I put the leaves right back out in the garden.
Use
so
them
that
for like mulch for the pathways and whatnot.
Yeah. Down at the house, I have a specific bed that they go into that's kind of quasi-hugel coulter bed. But
the compost pile?
No, I have a compost pile too, but it's not really compost. I don't compost correctly. So I just want to state that right off the bat. Composting correctly is not something I've ever been able to do. We do have piles that I let break down and every once in a while turn. And that do become good stuff, but I'm not composting correctly. The bed I'm talking about is the bed that's just out from the subscription garden. And it only gets, like no weeds. It gets only the like just the trimmings from flowers or like vegetables that the dogs won't eat because, pretty much the dog will eat everything.
Yeah, they're kind of like goats. Well, Luke is for sure.
Luke's more of the goat. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. So I guess we just sign off and say,
watch us grow.
Watch us grow.